Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Daily Current Affairs with Sathya, sir. I'm Sathya from IQ Ideas, and today is the 12th of June 2025. And I'll be going through the major headlines of National Daily today, keeping in mind the major current affair snippets or information which can be picked up from that particular piece of news, or interesting articles which can be read uh, for improving English and reading comprehension. And also, I will be picking up a few important vocabulary words which can be done for English. I hope these sessions are useful for students who are preparing for various competitive examinations with a general knowledge current affairs component. So without further ado, let's jump into today's newspaper. The front page, the main headline is Tech likely to help process census data within 9 months. Okay, so yesterday I think we took a look at the census which is going to happen in 2027. So the news here is how technology is going to assist the collection of census data. So if I read the news, it says that the final population data from the census of 2027 may be available as early as the end of 2027 itself, thanks to the digital mode being introduced for capturing and processing data sets in this exercise. So the next paragraph says that unlike the previous census, which happened in 2011, so the previous census for India took place in 2011. The current census is expected to take in 2027. So the previous census data, which took almost a couple of years for final population data to be published, this is at national, state, district and taluka level, along with gender-wise breakup. The government estimates that this time it will be done within as less as 9 months. That's very interesting. And the reason why the census data, which was due to start in 2020, was delayed was obviously to the global pandemic which ravaged planet Earth during that period of time. Now, for the first time, the census is going to be collected digitally using mobile apps in 16 languages, which includes Hindi, English, and 14 regional languages. Okay, so this app will also have the option to self-enumerate, which means citizens themselves can actually help in filling a lot of these information, and this obviously will mean that the officials, the enumerators, will no longer have to carry bulky paper schedules on field. So obviously a lot of paper is going to be saved, a lot of ease in terms of logistics and data collection and publication is going to take place. So the mobile apps, if you just read the center section of this news, it gives you all the key pieces of information. And at the end of the box, there is an implication pointer given, which says that the fast processing of census data through digitalization opens up the possibility of implementing delimitation. So implementation of delimitation. We have seen what delimitation is, right? The constituencies for electoral purposes across the nation. The delimitation is expected to be a part of this. And 1/3 quota for women in the Lok Sabha and state union territory assemblies in time for 2029 elections. So these are two major outcomes which are being foreseen as being assisted as a result of the 2027 census, and how digitalization, usage of technology can help this be done. Okay, then on the right there is an information which says that Pak phenomenal counter-terror ally, a senior US general. That's a pretty interesting piece of news where US general has described Pakistan as a phenomenal partner in counter-terrorism, ostensibly because the country's military rulers hand over such terrorists to Washington. But the article goes on to say that Islamabad, however, has refused to do the same with terrorists who have attacked India. Right? So that's just an interesting piece of information, but a couple of words which I can pick up for vocabulary purposes. So the word phenomenal, ostensibly, other than that, to grapple with something, it's a small byline that Pakistan grapples with water shortage. So these are a few vocabulary words that seemed interesting in that particular news. Then the other information, it's about the Meghalaya murder, sensational murder, so not relevant. GST filing gets tougher, not relevant. CM, the Congress brass decided on fresh caste survey. So Karnataka CM Siddaramaiah sought to clarify Wednesday that it was the Congress brass's decision and not his government's to undertake a fresh caste survey. Okay, maybe more details are there on a later page. We'll read that when we come across it. Okay, then there is some update on the Axiom 4 liftoff. As we know, there is an Indian on board the Axiom 4, which is expected to go to the International Space Station. So, keeping in mind, Axiom 4 has been in news. The International Space Station is in news. So, these two pointers can be kept in mind. Then at the bottom right, 5,300-year-old early Harappan settlement found near Lakhpat. So something from the world of archaeology. Okay, might be an interesting article to read. Moving on, the city page does not have anything too relevant. The next city page as well does not seem to have anything relevant. Maybe I'll just read them for English purposes. City page again not too relevant. The state related page, a lot of information, a lot of news is on just crime and things, so that is not going to be too relevant. Again, there is news regarding the NREGA scam where Sessions Court upholds Minister's son's bail. Okay, so the scam itself is not very relevant, but the acronym which has been used, NREGA, or the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is definitely something that you should know about. So not from this particular news, but just go online and search for what is NREGA and MNREGA, MNREGA. Okay, moving on, nation news. Okay, there seems to be the top news, quota subcategorization ensures marginalized get their share, CJI. So the news starts off with a reference to the current Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice B.R. Gawai, and it introduces him as India's second Dalit CJI, although I don't see why the Honorable Chief Justice should be referred to as such. But if he is referred to as the second Dalit CJI, the Honorable Justice B.R. Gawai, then what is relevant is who was the first Dalit Chief Justice of India. So here's some information which you can definitely pick up on who was the first Dalit Chief Justice of India. Okay, and then the news goes on to say that the ruling, the quota subcategorization ruling, I think is aimed to ensure that the most backward among Dalits got a fair share in public employment admissions to government educational institutions. Okay, so I'll just go through this information, but a couple of static GK, general knowledge points are the current Chief Justice of India, who was the first Dalit Chief Justice of India, and so on. Other than that, most of the page is classifieds and ads. The next page, again, moving on, the nation news. There's the main news is bracing for burn, With IMD signaling another round of heat waves, does the country have a plan to battle what's now an annual scourge? Okay, so the word scourge, something bad, something which is which is like an enemy or something which is bad for the people, the public population. Other than that, you can just read this particular news article as English reading thing, not relevant as a current affair news. Next, in Kharif season, water levels at two key park dams near dead levels. Okay, so the information which I would read, or at least what I would read upon the news, is what is meant by a kharif crop, right? And if you are reading upon what is a kharif crop, you will also come up a term, the rabi crops. What are kharif crops? What are rabi crops? Below that, West Bengal makes minor tweaks to OBC list struck down by the High Court. Okay, the Supreme Court had refused a stay, so new list has a few more Muslim groups. Right, bit controversial type news, but then I would just read it to see if there is any important point that comes across. Okay, then moving on, another nation news, but more of sensationalist crime related news. Okay, now we come across the middle page, the editorial, my favorite, for purposes of language. The main piece is by Said Akbaruddin, who is a writer and who served as India's permanent representative to the United Nations. And he also was the member of one of the MP's groups. I think the groups which were sent by the Prime Minister of India in the wake of Operation Sindhu to different countries. So the byline reads, post-op Sindoor, global outreach by teams of parliamentarians give a clear idea of how key countries endorse India's position on terror and also how they carefully scrutinize actions of a rising power. So vocabulary wise, two words which immediately jump out. What does it mean to endorse or support, and scrutinize or examine in detail? So these are the two vocabulary words which are interesting. If I read the article, this is a first person narrative because the writer Said Akbaruddin himself has been a part of the group. So his meetings were in Egypt, Ethiopia, South Africa and Qatar. And it gives who are the members of this group and also gives some news about the interaction. Okay, so I will definitely read this particular news to keep in mind, to understand vocabulary, to understand good writing. And the words which jump out from this article is to resonate. Then there is the word paradox. So a couple of words which then I immediately see the word resilient. And if memory serves me right, the word resilient has been asked in the CLAT exam, and the word resilient was used in two questions where you had to know the meaning of that word to be able to understand it well. Okay. Other than on the left, we have the usual pieces. First one, R&D rarely. Dependence in critical areas makes the nation vulnerable. Strategic interest must prevail over economic sense. An interesting opinion piece. Then a big part of fertility decline is rising cost of raising a child. Government baby bonuses hardly suffice. Just read it like for the purpose of that. And very, very testing. The kids are CUETing, the parents are sweating. Okay, that seems to be an interesting news, not a news article, but an interesting opinion piece which can be read. Then the middle thing is a real chance for India to escape rare earth bind. Motors used in cars or other machines needn't only depend on rare earth magnets. India's engineers can develop other tech that requires smart microelectronics and algorithms. What they need is venture capital. So, in an opinion piece, which could definitely be worth reading up for language purposes. Then the special page is one major writing by Shubhro Niyogi and Suman Mandal. The title says, Why the New Jagannath Temple is India's latest pilgrimage hotspot. Now the word hotspot has often been one of my favorite words because the meaning of the word has changed over the decades. Originally, it used to mean a place of political unrest. Then it came to represent a very happening place. Then it was used in tech as a part of an online screen which can be clicked as a hyperlink. And then now, of course, it's what you can use to share your mobile data for internet. So, language progresses and the meaning of a word keeps changing over time. So that's the word hotspot, which I have often used as an example. Then the article uses the word niche, it uses the word edifice. So these are definitely a few words, and I will definitely recommend that you do read this for language purposes. Then moving on, we have the global page where then there's another news regarding protests in Los Angeles, uh, some update on the Musk-Trump spat where Musk seems to be apologizing, Chinese jets and Pakistan defense. Most of this news is just news, not very relevant. Okay. Uh, then in the business section, one headline is India-US trade pact may take months. Okay. SEBI verified UPI to deter scammers posing as brokers. Okay. Not doesn't seem to be too relevant. The next business, again, they are just updates for those interested in finance, but not as a major current affairs piece. Then again, you have a nation page where there is news which says courts must not supplant legislature's role to maintain balance of power. It's a quote by Justice Khan. So what I would see is the meaning of the word supplant or replace. Then there is a ILO International Labor Organization report which says 64% Indians now have social protection cover. Okay, so here what I would pick up is what is the ILO, which is the International Labor Organization. So I would search who's the head of the organization, where is the headquarters of the organization, so on and so forth. Okay. Moving on, we have the sports page, just updates on ongoing matches and tournaments. No final results, I think. Again, uh, the next page is interesting because half of it is devoted to sports and the bottom half is again nation news. And one big headline says the electoral rolls shared with all political parties since 60 CEC, which should be the Chief Election Commissioner, I think. Okay, so what is the CEC? The Chief Election Commission. Who's the current head of the Chief Election Commission? Who's the Chief Election Commissioner? Is something which I would read upon and keep in mind as a GK snippet. Okay, other than that, there isn't much relevant updates. And that brings us to the end of the paper. So as you can see, it's just updates on major news which we have been tracking for the past couple of days. The 2027 census is something which has been in news for the past couple of days. The Axiom 4 mission to the International Space Station, and then ongoing spats such as President Donald Trump's tariff issues with different countries, the spat between Trump and Musk, and a lot of sensationalist news which we definitely need not follow as far as current affairs are concerned. So today's news articles are mostly just updates on current ongoing events, nothing new to pick up on, but definitely a few articles which are worth reading as opinion pieces for language purposes. So with that, this is me, Sathya, signing off. Do give this a like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. If there are any other specific news articles or pieces